doing that stupid thing again. There we go. Am I working? Yeah, I'm working. There we go. All right, we'll start now. We're starting, guys. We're starting. So, two things before we look at new material. The past practice papers are on Moodle. They're under the page, what's it called? Like, you have a special page on Moodle. It's called like placement or, well, what's the page on Moodle that has all the material? You have it up there.
It's all biology. I just looked on it. There's no maths stuff on there at all.
Well, I put the maths up there weeks ago.
Maybe you put it in a different place.
Oh, okay, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
No
We'll
worries.
have a look at that.
They'll
Thank
find
you.
it,
Yeah. Anyways, it's on Moodle. I uploaded quite a lot of papers to practice and video solutions to all the questions. So the situation is, there's lots of stuff on the exam that's from the IFY. I'm not going to do that with you, obviously. What we're focusing on in this time is looking at material which is not on the IFY. Now, Amjad, I'm giving you one warning. If my attention is drawn to you or anybody else in this hour, I'll ask them to leave, because we haven't got time for jerking about here, okay? Don't. I haven't got time to be jerking about here, okay? So, as I was saying, we don't have time to look at IFY and non-IFY stuff. So we're looking at non-IFY stuff in these classes. It's your responsibility to practice the papers and check the video solutions, okay? And if you get stuck on a question, you can come see me and we can work on it, all right? So what we're going to look at in this lesson is something called complex numbers, which is not on the IFY. Now the good thing is we can cover what we need for the exam in one lesson, okay? And some people might have even seen this before. So let's have a look at exactly what we're saying when we say complex numbers. Complex numbers. Okay, so the symbol for complex numbers is this symbol, C, and just compare that with real numbers, which we use the letter or, and complex numbers, there's only one thing that's special about complex numbers, and the definition is a complex number I, the squaring of it makes -1. Yeah, that is the definition of an imaginary number. So that is really the only formula that you have for this lesson, really. Now, of course, what we do with that is what we're going to look at now. Another way you can think of it is that square root of -1, that's like I. Okay? Yeah? Now, I'm just curious, who has studied this before? Okay, about half the class then. So you have some... Yeah? If you don't know, then you haven't studied it before. I was just wondering who has studied it before. So about half the class has studied it. Okay. So a complex number, usually we write it like this, A plus BI. So some simple examples are, 2 plus 3i, 4 minus I, or just 2i by itself. These are all complex numbers. And what's special about them, like I said, is I squared equals -1. You notice that this is very different to real numbers, because in real numbers, when you square something, the result is only ever positive. Yeah? So this is a huge difference between real numbers. So we have some rules to look at with complex numbers. So let's have a look at our first example. So you all have this formula, right? Yeah, okay. So here's our first example. The really good news about complex numbers is that they obey the usual rules of algebra. So if I had something like 2 plus 3i, and I want to add it to, say, 4 plus 5i, the result really is just 6 plus 8i. As simple as that. Okay? So I'll give you one to try. Let's say Z1 is 2 plus I, and let's say Z2 is -3 plus 4i. I want you to calculate Z1 plus Z2. So just write the answer down, and in about 5 seconds, that's all you'll need, I'll give you the answer. So can you just write the answer down here for this one? Okay, you got an answer written down?
I is equal to -1.
Square root minus 1. It's not quite minus 1. Just be careful. I squared is minus 1. And square root of minus 1 is I. So you can think about it like this or like that. Yeah, some of them you can. No, don't use the calculator. No, don't. You don't need it yet.
I'll fail if I don't use the calculator.
No, well, you know how to add 2 and minus 3. And I and 4I.
No, it's not the 2 and the -3.
It is the 2 and the minus
Do
3.
you multiply 3 by I?
No. You're making this much more complicated. Look.
I don't get it.
Look. 2 plus I minus 3 plus 4I. Right? 2 and minus 3? Minus 1. And then an I with 4I? 5I. So I just add these two numbers together. It's a bit like when you do something like this in algebra. 2x plus 3y plus 4x plus 6y. That would be what? 6x plus 9y. Same rules of algebra for this. Okay? Right, just to make sure you're all crystal clear, calculate this one for me. 3 plus I minus 2 plus 5i. Write down the answer for that one. Yeah. What's the answer here? 1 minus 4i. Okay, we're getting the idea now. Yep, okay. So, that's some basic rules. Now, let's have a look at some square roots. So, for example, what is the square root of minus 4? Now, normally we can't calculate this, right? Usually it's an error. But today we can, because we can think about it like this. Square root minus 1, square root 4. And what's square root of minus 1? And square root of 4? So the answer, 2i.
Okay.
Square root of minus 9? 3i. Okay? And I'll give you a couple of, a minute to try and calculate this one. I want you to get the square root of minus 50. And I want you to try and simplify as much as you can. You think you got an answer? You got an answer? What did you get? 5?
Minus 5 minus 5 I square root 5.
I'm not sure about the minus there. What did you get?
2I times 5.
Yeah, let's have a look. Okay, let's have a look. So square root 50, right, is the same as square root minus 1, square root 25, square root 2. Because 50 is 25 times 2. Now the reason I did that, some of you will spot, is because we know the square root of 25. What is it? 5. And the square root of I, and this is still just root 2. So you could clean it up. You could say the answer is 5 root 2 I. We usually write the I at the back. You don't have to. You don't have to. You could say 5I root 2. Yeah. But Amjad, we usually group the coefficient as a single number. Yeah. Okay, we got the basic idea here with this? All right.
One question.
Yeah.
Can you write it in decimal form? From 7 point.
Yeah, but the problem is, because the exam is MCQ, you need to consider the different ways you could write the answer. So if the answers are in surds, then you have to try and get your answer as a surd. If the answer's in decimals, then get it as a decimal. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's not like the IFY exam where you can just write your answer down and you're finished. You actually have to try and match it up with one of the answers. So you need to keep this in mind. Okay, question? Question?
Yeah.
What?
Are calculators allowed in the exam?
Huh?
Are calculators allowed in the exam?
Yes, they are. Good question. No, it's the exam has been here for a few years, and there's never been a problem using the calculator in the exam. So I think I think you all have calculators. You should be able to use these in the exam. Okay. I think so. Now, I think your best thing to do, for goodness sake, whatever you do, don't ask the invigilator if it's allowed.
Yeah.
Right? Don't do that. Because the worst thing that would happen was maybe halfway in the exam, the invigilator might go, and you have to go, oh, I can't use this one? Oh, okay. Right? Okay, and just in case that happens, bring a spare calculator. You're like, oh, okay, well, you can take this back and I'll just use this one here, all right? Okay, next now. Multiplication rules apply as well. So you have 2 minus 3i. So no surprise what happens here. It multiplies in like normal, so you get 4 minus 6i. So again, as usual here. Now, what about something a little bit harder? 2 plus 3i times, let's say, minus 1 plus i. Well, what do you think happens here? The same thing that always happens. It multiplies, expands, as usually. Yeah. So I'll just give you a half a minute there. Just expand this and see what you get. Now, I'll also say, remember, yeah, I squared equals minus 1 if it appears. Okay, so we can see what you get there. Yeah? Okay. You got that? You have some answers over there? Yeah. You got your answer all added up and simplified? Yeah. So you just have 2 numbers. Yeah. So we multiply this out. 2 by minus 1 is minus 2. 2 by I is 2i. 3i by minus 1 is minus 3i. And then it finishes with a 3i squared. However, that guy is minus 3. So it's minus 2 minus 3 plus 2i minus 3i. So minus 5 minus I minus 1i. Okay, so we're okay with adding, subtracting, multiplying. So obviously the next thing we have to learn how to do is division. Okay, so if you can write this example down, we'll look at division. Well, actually, just before we do that, I'll just give you another quick one to try here. What about if I said 2 plus 3i squared? It's the same really, isn't it? Yeah. No, just about the calculator. See, the problem is their website and their syllabus, they don't have any guidelines on this. It's not like they say here's a list of approved calculators. So
this one's approved for SAP though. I've seen no reason.
Yeah. But like I said, the easiest thing is just not to ask because their website doesn't have any list of calculators you can or can't use. So it will be their responsibility to say it, not for you to check it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Okay, do we have an answer here?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I expand this, I'll get 4 plus 12i minus 9i squared, which ends up being 13 plus... I'm sorry, it's plus 9i squared, thank you. But that would be 5? Minus 5 plus 12i is what you should get then. Okay, so question? Yeah? I expand, from here to here. This is minus 9. So it's 4 minus 9 is minus 5. Yeah, and then that's 12. Okay, So, we've done, is that okay? You look confused. What's confusing you here? Yeah? Yeah, so what I did, I expanded quickly in my head. You can, you know, it's the first 2 plus 3i times 2 plus 3i. So 2 by 2 is the 4. Then you have 6i, and 6i is the 12i. Yeah, so I just, if you can do these things quickly in your head, it's helpful. Yeah? It becomes minus 9. Because I squared is minus 1. Yeah, yeah. There's just one formula you need to remember for today. If you can do that, that would be great. Okay, continue. Yes? Right. So, we've done addition, subtraction, multiplication, and power. The next operation to do is division. So let's have a look at that. Let's just say I pick something like 2 plus 3i over, let's just say, I don't know, 3 plus 4i as an example. I want to divide here. Now, you can get a little hint of what to do if you remember what I is. So I is like the square root of minus 1. So this problem is a lot like this. 2 plus 3 root minus 1 over 3 plus 4 root minus 1. Now this should remind you of something you did in algebra.
Minus 1 to the power of 1 minus
Not this one. The rationalizing. By the conjugate. Yeah. So that technique works here as well. You would multiply above and below by the conjugate. That's it. 3 minus 4i and 3 minus 4i. So just to be clear, the conjugate of 3 plus 4i is 3 minus 4i. That's called the conjugate. You know this word from your maths classes in algebra. So I'll give you a minute. I want you to simplify this. And you should end up with an answer that looks like this. A plus bi in the end. So I'm going to take a minute to simplify that. Okay, we're doing okay with this? Yeah. Okay. Let's have a look. So if I multiply out the top, 2 by 3 is 6 minus 8i plus 9i minus 12i squared. Is that right? Yeah. Then on the bottom I have 9 minus 12i plus 12i minus 16i squared. Now, I squared is minus 1, so this, instead of being minus 12, is 12. That's a 6. So in total, that's 18. 9i minus 8i? Plus I. Good, okay. 9 plus 16 is 25. And then the I parts cancel. Now you need to write your answer in the usual form. So what you could do is split this into 18 over 25 plus 1 over 25i. Yeah?
Sorry, sir, how did you get no, I got
Sorted? Okay.
You can't leave it in that form, right?
Well, again, like what I was saying to Amjad, because it's multiple choice, you need to be flexible. You need to be able to, you know, if all the answers look like this, then you need to realize I'm not finished when you get here. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not like you write the answer down and they say it's okay. You have to find the answer and match it up. So you may have to simplify more. For example, maybe they give the answer as a decimal, you know. So this would be like 0.72 plus 0.05i, I think.
Yeah.
Am I right with this? Ah, so close. 0.04. Okay. Yeah. All right, continue. You got this example? Yeah. Okay, so the next one we'll do, let's say we want to add some complex numbers, but a little bit more difficult now. So suppose I have something like 1 over 1 plus I plus 1 over 1 minus I. Well, the good thing is you do it like you normally do for fractions. I think you all know the quick way to add fractions together. So on the denominator is b times d. So in this case that would be 1 plus I times 1 minus I. And then on the top it's AD plus BC. Yeah, BC. So that's 1 times 1 minus I plus 1 times 1 plus I. So what do we get on the top? We get 1 minus I plus 1 plus I. And on the bottom we'll get 1 plus I minus I squared. So on the top we'll get 2, right? Yeah. And on the bottom we'll get, they cancel 2 as well, is it? It is 2. 2. Yeah. Yeah. So amazingly, it all simplifies down to 1. Yeah. I can easily imagine this being an MCQ question, and the reason I can imagine it as an MCQ question is because I can imagine them doing something like giving answers like this: 1, 1 plus I, 1 minus I, and then I don't know something else. I don't know, whatever. And I think the reason it's a good, say 26. We'll say 1 over I, whatever. The reason I think this is a good MCQ question is because if you didn't know what to do and if you were stuck, you wouldn't guess this one because you might think, oh, well, that's obviously the fake answer because it could no way be just 1. So this is what I mean with the MCQ to try and match it up. So obviously it's 1 here for this one. Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. Can I scroll down? Yeah. Okay, so now on to something with powers. So suppose I say something like, what is I power 10? Now, I've seen this in the Charles exam. Huh? For sure? I think you're right. But how do you get this?
4, 4, 2, so it's I squared.
Oh, you're thinking like this, 4, 4, 2, yeah. I think about it like this, I squared 5. Yeah, that works too, which is minus 1 power 5, which is minus 1. So the trick is, can you try and simplify the power? So let's say I say I 45. Well, what I could do is I could change that into I times I 44. Yeah? And then the I-44, I could change that into what? I squared 22? Yeah? Yes? What's I squared? Minus 1. What's minus 1 to the power of 22? 1. So you're left with I. Yeah? So the trick is, can you simplify the power and get a square in it? Once you can get a square in the power, it's kind of finished. So like if I said I 101, that's an odd number, right? So I should change that into I times I 100. And then that's I times I squared 50. Well, I squared is minus 1 to 50. Try again. 1. So the answer here is I.
So you can always divide by 4 and the reminder is the 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that requires too much thinking for me. Yeah. But if you're comfortable with that, because what happens is the answer cycles over 4. You'll discover that when you have I to power n, the answer could only be I minus I, 1 or minus 1. And not only that, but it actually cycles through these. You know? So there is a way by looking at the remainder when you divide by 4. But I feel like that's too much effort. Too much effort. Okay, so that's with the power. Let me give you one to try. I want you all to figure out what this one is. I power minus 1. Which of the 4 answers will it be? So again, if this is MCQ, it'll be, first answer could be like I, second answer could be minus I, third answer could be 1, and the last answer be minus 1.
There's no error.
There's no error. That's correct. You know that the answer is one of these. So you can't cancel one of the MCQ answers. So it could be any of these. You're using the calculator though. So let's calculate it. Yeah? I power minus 1 equals 1 over I. We multiply above and below by minus I, the conjugate. On the top we get minus I, on the bottom we get minus I squared. I squared is minus 1. It's a positive 1. So the answer is minus I, which is B. Isn't it? B. Yeah. Did anybody get that? I heard D a couple of times. Well, did I make a mistake here? Let's check. Is that right? Yeah. And is that the conjugate? Yeah. 1 times minus I? Minus I. I times minus I? Minus I squared. Which is 1. So you're left with minus I over 1. Yeah? So I think it is B. Yeah? But didn't you say D? Are you sure? You said B, did you? Oh, okay, you gave me, yeah. Okay, we got that? Is that okay? Guys, come on. Is that okay? Yeah? So, I don't have, there's one more type of question which I just jumped into my mind that they could ask, which I don't have on this worksheet. So, I'll give it to you as example now, and then we can write a couple at the bottom of the page as extra. I'll hand these out in a moment. So, the other thing which I realised that they could ask you to do, it's related to the first example I did. The first example I did was something simple like this, root minus 4 equals 2i. Okay? But you could have a question like this, root 2 plus 3i. Now that's harder to do. So we'll have to, yeah. Have you seen this type before? Maybe. You think you have? So let's look at how we can do this one, okay? So I ask you to calculate this. Firstly, how many answers should there be? Yeah? Yeah, well, here it's possibly 2 different answers. It's not clear which one to take. Okay? It's clear when we have a number like this. Root 9, what does that equal?
6.
Right. Root 9 is 3. Okay, now technically there's 2 answers, but definition is that we choose the positive answer. Okay, so it's not so clear with the complex numbers. You should work out both answers. After all, it's an MCQ, so if you work out both answers, you can just pick which one it is. Okay, so let's calculate it. So the trick to finding the answer is you say that Z is equal to this. And then you get rid of the root by squaring. So you get Z squared is equal to 2 plus 3i. Okay, so far? And then what you do is you realize, well, what is it that I'm looking for? I'm looking for z, which I think will also be a complex number, right? The square root of a complex number is probably another complex number. So we think that z's answer is probably going to be a plus bi. So here we replace z with a plus bi squared equals 2 plus 3i. Okay, let's square this. We get a squared plus 2abi plus b squared I squared equals 2 plus 3i. Okay, what is the real part here? The real part is a squared, and what's the other real number? No, because this has an I in it. The b squared, because I squared is minus 1. So it's a squared minus b squared. Plus, and what's the imaginary part here? 2abi. Oh no, I'm looking at the middle part. Yeah. Equals 2 plus 3i. Now, you might see what I'm about to do because of my use of colours. A squared minus b squared equals 2. And 2ab equals 3. Do you see what's happened here? You can compare the answer on the right with what you have on the left. And you can say, well, a squared minus b squared should equal 2. And 2ab should equal 3. So if you can figure out the a and the b, you're finished. Now, we've seen how to do this one in maths class. What's the best strategy here? What method? Substitution. Substitution would be best here. You could say a, yeah?
I don't understand the second step.
Yeah, but you need to give me a question.
That, like, how did you get a squared minus b squared plus 2abi?
Oh, this one here. So, a squared minus b squared, because I squared is minus 1. So that's a squared minus b squared. And I just carried this guy down. No change. Yeah? Okay, so we have a equals 3 over 2b. And I can sub that in here. So I get a, which is 3 over 2b squared, minus b squared, that should equal 2. So that's 9 over 4b squared minus b squared equals 2. Okay, now what do I do next?
Multiply by 4b squared.
Yeah, multiply by 4b squared. So I get 9 minus 4b 4 good equals 8b squared.
Can cancel.
No. No. Take everything to the right. 4b4 plus 8b squared minus 9 equals 0.
Replace it with u then.
That's it. What type of equation is this? Quadratic. Where b squared is the variable. So you can say b squared equals minus 8. Plus or minus. I'm skipping the substitution because I know that this is a quadratic where b squared is the variable. Because remember, it's an MCQ. They don't care about your work.
64?
You're giving me this is 64?
No, this is b squared. Minus 4. Minus 10 minus 4.
Oh, don't worry. I know that 8 squared is 64. Thank you. B squared plus 72 over 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what do I get here? So, give me the plus answer first if you can. So, give me the plus answer if you have that.
2 plus 13.
Yeah,
Root 13, sorry. Negative 2 plus
give it to me as a decimal, please.
Okay, it's 0.80.
One more.
And the other one is...
No, one more digit. 80.
Wait, give me a second, sorry. 2.
2, okay.
And the other one is negative 2.
Yeah, and I don't care about that other one. Why not?
Because negative.
Negative.
Because it's negative and we need it to be positive. Okay. So I have two answers for B. They are plus or minus root 0.802. And then because I have 2 answers for B, I can get 2 answers for A. So A would equal 3 over 2, and then you put these 2 answers in for A. Okay, so what is root 0.802? 0.895i.
Yeah, it's 855.
Again, it's MCQ, so if one of the answers was 895 and you got 896, you can safely pick that answer knowing that you simply made a rounding error. Okay, what are you giving me? Well, what I need to know next is what the A is. So can you put that 0.895 into this to give me the A? 1.34.
I got the
Oh, not
I got 1.8.
3 over 2 times 0.895. Now don't show me the calculator. I'm going to take a sip of coffee, and then when I put it back down, I want someone to give me the answer. The right answer.
1.8.
What? No, wait until I put the coffee down. Right. 1.8. Yes? You got this too?
No.
Which is what? 1.67.
No.
It's not 1.8, that's for sure.
1.7. Oh my god, so sorry.
A key skill you will need for the exam is to tell the difference between 7 and 8.
It's a rounding error.
It's a big rounding error.
1.67.
1 point, yeah, so about 1.7 then, okay? So, that's a round too far, okay? Right, so the second answer is you put the negative in, but actually I know it's going to turn out to be minus 1.7 and minus 0.895. But that's not a surprise because you can kind of guess when you have a square root, you get plus, positive or negative. So this will probably be the MCQ answer. Now, I don't think they'll give you that in the exam. It takes a little bit too long to solve. Just in case, though, I wanted to show you how to do it. Okay. Now, we've got 5 minutes left, which is good, because what I want to do in this last 5 minutes is I want you to open up the most recent exam and find the complex number question in it. You should be able to do it. As you're opening that up, I'll hand out these. Oh yeah, and I'll give you an extra question at the bottom to do. Here you go. Are you opening the exams? Opening the child's exams? Oh goodness, no. That's why we're having weekly classes for the next 6 weeks. Huh? Isn't that it? We had this for like 6 weeks or something, isn't it? Isn't it like who Colin told you? So you'll have six maths classes. So I have a rough plan of what to do. The complex numbers today. Next week, I kind of want to do modulus, absolute. You know, you've heard of this one before. Yeah. The absolute. Yeah. Sorry. You all have one of them? Can you write in a question 13, please? Right on the bottom, question 13. Just make an extra question on the bottom, number 13. Let's keep it simple. Square root, I don't know, 3 plus 2i. I did a totally different one. I did square root 2 plus 3i. This is square root 3 plus 2i. You have no idea how different that is. Yeah. You huh?
Give us the answer in the worksheet.
I don't have that answer at the back yet. Now, did you all open up the most recent exam? I think it's letter M. Yeah. What page is it on? It's on like MedPrep or... Yeah, so Colin's a dirty filthy liar when he said it's not there. Yeah. Like there's a section called... yeah, there you go. So open up the M one. Which question is the complex number one?
Yeah. I'll just open the random check about
Number 10. And can you read out?
I open the random Trojan.
Yeah.
2i plus 1 over 2 minus I.
Yeah. That's all right, isn't it? Multiplied by 2 plus I. Okay? No big deal. No big deal. Now, let me just open up the calculator here. Yeah. I have 3 more I haven't prepared yet.
It's always 10 questions. So it seems.
Lately, it's always been 10 questions, but technically maybe it's 10 to 15. But they'll choose enough questions to make it 1 hour of work, you know. That's why I don't think the square root example I did would be on the exam. If it was, then it means 2 of the other questions I think would have to be really easy to make up for the time.
It's not ideal.
Huh?
Which is not ideal.
No. Now, if you have this calculator, I think you can put it into a complex number mode. Mode 2, is it? And then I can do fraction 2, and the I is where on this one? I saw it. Ah, there it is. Shift I plus 1 over 2 minus shift I. I think the answer is I, is it? Yeah. Which is one of the MCQ answers. Now, if you're lucky enough to have this calculator, you realise that means you've just saved, 6 minutes in the exam, because you have 6 minutes per question. So you've just given yourself 1 question guaranteed to be right, and an extra 6 minutes in the exam.
Okay,
It's useful.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do we need to show our working on the paper?
It's MCQ. Multiple choice.
So it's just...
Yeah. Yeah. So if you have this one, you can use it. Now the reason, you have to be careful though. You have to be careful because they could make one tiny change to the question and now you can't use your calculator. Watch. So if you're sitting there thinking, screw this, I don't have to learn anything, you're wrong. Because I could simply change it to something like this. 2i plus a over 2 minus I. Now you can't use your calculator. Now you actually have to work it out. Okay? But I'm saying, if you're lucky enough to get a question that you can use your calculator for, then you've just gotten 6 minutes and 1 mark out of 10. But I'm not showing you this to get lazy. I'm just telling you, okay, so you can use it in the exam. But you still need to know the process in case they give you something different. Now, what your homework is for next week, you really need to plan your time out for the next 6 weeks, okay? What I want everybody to do, so I do want everybody to email me this, because you need to get yourself ready for this. Well, you know my email. I want to know what order you're going to do your study over the next 6 weeks. So what I mean is, for example, maybe this week you will decide to do all the complex number questions from the exams. Okay? But you realise if you just do one topic each week, that's no good because there's at least maybe 15 types of questions on the exam. There's only 6 weeks. So you'll need to do 2 or 3 topics per week. So for example, maybe this week you could say, okay, on Friday, I'll do all the complex number questions. On Saturday, I'll do all the quadratic questions in the exams. And then on Sunday, you could say, I'll do all the log questions. Now, I'm not going to do quadratics and logs with you because you do this in IFY. You understand? Yeah. And not only should you do the questions here, but if you've not studied complex numbers before, it's good that you practice extra questions which I've made here. Now, I've not had a chance to double check the answers because I made this very quickly. I think they're all right, but you can send me an email if you think one of the answers is wrong. I can confirm that for you. So I need you all to email me, at least tell me what you're going to do in this first week of preparation. If you can email me today, okay? What you're going to prepare for before our next class. All right? Yeah. No, because I want people to actually open up the exams and have a look at all the exams. So in other words, two things. I'm forcing you to look at all the exams, and I haven't got enough time to do that.
Is the syllabus unneeded?
No. And by the way, if you go to their website, their syllabus is not up to date. It's more realistic to write your own list of topics from the past papers. Because I think the syllabus is just something someone threw together 10 years ago. It's not representative of what the exam is now. Okay? Alright, this will be uploaded in a minute. Right, so don't forget, I want you to email me sometime this evening, alright? We'll finish there. You have chemistry next, don't you? Yeah.